Hello, everyone. This is Sharon Ann Klingler joining you today for our Facebook Live experience. And today we're going to do something a little different, but something that I'm going to be implementing a little bit more frequently, perhaps once or maybe even twice a month as we do our Facebook Live events. And today is a spirit question and answer period. And if you have any questions about spirit, certainly please, I invite you to put them in the comments today. Although I've received a lot of questions about spirit, particularly about the feelings that transcend, the passage that we call death. And I have had a lot of actually clients and indeed even some friends who have had some losses lately. And there have been some concerns and even questions that are up in the air for them about the feelings and the emotions of the spirit side of life. And so those are the questions I'm going to be asking today, but we will be doing spirit Q&A for many times in the future, and some other questions and answers and little info periods. I'm looking forward to also talking to you about which gemstones to wear and for power and for psychic development and for money and love and all sorts of different things. So that's going to be fun stuff in the future too. But please do, if you have any specific questions, well, just about anything, send them to me in your comments, and I will take a look at them and make a list for our future Q&A and our little rep sessions. Again, Sharon Ann Klingler joining you today with some insight about spirit and the spirit world. A lot of people, sometimes when I'm doing clients and indeed even friends, ask if there is a person who was negative, let's say negative, selfish, dismissive, rejecting, perhaps even in some way mentally, emotionally, or indeed, or physically abusive in some way. Do these psychological constructs survive and go with the person after death? And that, oh my goodness, I forgot to unplug the phone. Let me do that. Now the phone's unplugged. Seems like Spirit wanted to call us right then, right? Actually, there are no accidents, I think. Anyway, there are people who are often concerned that somebody negative around them that was in the living has come around them in the spirit world, bringing their negative energy. And we have to be aware of what the spirit world is. When we pass into the spirit world, we become immediately cognizant, immediately and totally comprehensive of our divine eternal souls. We move into a firsthand personal experience of who we are eternally. And the ego doesn't live in the spirit world, really. I mean, there are some negative spirits for sure out there, mostly poltergeists who don't have as much to do with people as they do with place. But I have to tell you that this is one of the reasons why if you read any near-death experience books, you will hear, I never felt so much joy. I never felt so much love, so much power. I didn't want to come back. It's really a dynamic experience of immediately stepping into the state of grace and your eternal power and boundless love. And that's who we are in spirit. Excuse me one second. And if that's who we are in spirit, then that's who Uncle Joe, who was mean to me, or Grandpa, who abandoned us, or abandoned my father's family, or this person or that person who did not do right in the physical world, that's who they are eternally too. So you see, when someone passes into spirit, the spirit that with whom you are going to connect will be their divine eternal selves. Now, does that mean that they don't have any lessons to learn? That now, if you believe in reincarnation, which I believe in reincarnation, it's up to you to decide what you believe. But if you believe in reincarnation, you know that all of these people, all of us really, will keep coming back until we still have, as long as we have lessons to learn. And those who can't bring an awareness of their divine sense and their compassion and the love of their eternal reality and the kindness into their physical personal life here on earth, those who can't do that have no consciousness of their own spirits. And their future lifetimes will be about learning how to bring their spirits and make those spirits alive in their reality, in their sensing, in their experience. So what do we have here? We have people who have been dismissive or mean or rejecting, or indeed perhaps people who have had a life of depression, people who have perhaps even committed suicide, who had negative feelings of worthlessness and horrible self rejection. And they too move into their spirits when they pass. And they too have an immediate comprehension and cognizance of who they are in their eternal reality. And so even the people that I see who had committed suicides are free from the emotional pain that troubled them when they were in the physical world. You see, the emotions that we experience during our physical realities, our physical lives, come to us through the personality and the ego. You know, Freud called the ego the executive of the personality. It is the ego through which we do commerce with the world. The ego's function when we're babies and infants is to individuate us or separate us from other people. It is the ego that allows us to know that we have to feed ourselves and clothe ourselves and house ourselves so that we don't perish. And sometimes the ego overdoes its job, and the personality may develop selfishness or self-rejection. Both of those things are indicative of the ego's active presence in a person's life. But the ego is, since it is our individuating self and part of the personal psychology, when we move into spirit and move into our divine eternal beings, the ego, we have a sense of our at one with all. The last thing we need to do is create an individuation. We do not see ourselves as separate. We see ourselves as connected to our higher selves, connected to everyone and everyone's higher self. One second. Excuse me. So here we are in the physical world, and we're either depressed or we're hurting other people, but then we pass into the spirit world. And the emotional pain that we had in the physical world, both for those of us that were depressed and for those of us that were selfish. Those who are selfish and actively pursuing the rejection of others are doing so out of their pain as well. So we move into our divine selves, and that beautiful self is the state of grace that you hear about in those near-death experience books. And that is the spirits whom I see and perceive when I'm doing readings. And so the ego isn't still a driving force among the spirit world, because its job is in the physical world and in the personality. Its job is literally to make sure the individual feeds itself and clothes itself. Now, when it overdoes its job, it says you need to feed yourself, pâté de foie gras, or, anything expensive. We have to go to this expensive restaurant, not just get something to eat. or clothe ourselves in, something that's designer clothes rather than something off the rack. So the ego does take its job a little too far. But that doesn't mean that we have to live our lives in the personal physical world in an always combative state with the ego if we are to live spiritually. We do not have to die to get that we are spirit. We can get that we are spirit right now, right now, and right now, and right now, and right now, and right now. And when we get that we are spirit, we understand the ego better. We don't have to take up swords with the ego in battle. When the ego makes us start to judge ourselves or other people, it's the same thing. It's the judgment of others and judgment of ourselves is brought about by the ego to make ourselves feel better or to make ourselves, and indeed even judging ourselves, defines ourselves in a reality that feels safe for us. But in any event, it's always still the ego. So what we need to do in order to get our spirits before we die is to be mindful of when that happens. And so when the ego starts us judging, we can say, wow, thank you, ego. I must need some love right now. I must be in a wanting state of fullness and kindness and compassion. And we can close our eyes and we can bring ourselves to our higher self, our souls, our spirits, and feel the embrace, not just of our own spirits, but the embrace of the spirit people who love us, and indeed call to ourselves the embrace of the God of our understanding. Call the God of your understanding to come to you and hold you in the light of that reality. But when people ask me, is my Uncle Joe there? I don't want him there. It's really kind of funny because I have to say, well, he wants to be here because he wants to say he's sorry. He wants to say he's sorry. He wants to say that he's aware of the things the mistakes that he had made. And we have to be mindful that healing also is part of our karma as well. So when we have anyone to heal with, it's an opportunity when we connect with spirit who had done the wrong things to us or who had abandoned us or that type of thing. So when you ask yourself, one second, when you ask yourself, how is my mom doing in spirit? And she was a very loving, wonderful mom. Know that your mom is in her spirit, in her eternal soul, and her loving, joyful, wondrous self is with you all the time. But for those of you who ask yourself, is my mother who was abusive to me in the spirit world around me? Know that your mother is in her divine self, just like the other kind of mother, and is in her wonder and grace and sending you love. That might be hard to conceive because you've had a lifetime of this kind of mistreatment. But she also has had a lifetime of her ego directing herself because of her pain. And her soul wants to approach you and bring healing and be the mother that she couldn't be to you before. The emotional pain that we feel here after the body goes and we move into spirit, that really usually 99.9% goes with the body. Because that grace and power and boundless, unlimited love and energy and godhood that is part of our divine selves is permeating our reality and our experience the second we pass. That's why those near-death experience books are so wonderful. So don't worry that your loved ones are in pain. And don't worry that the ones that were in pain in the physical world are hanging out around you and bringing negativity. There is no spirit in your family who is around you, or in your loved ones if they're friends, who want to bring you negativity, not in any way, shape, or form. Because the ego is something that is alive and often well here on the physical side, but not there on the spirit side. And I just want to let you all know that, because it's really kind of funny, because often when I do readings, there are two people who come whom the client really is very surprised by their approach. And they are often the first two people who come. The first one is the people who died before we were born, and we didn't even know them, or when we were just little babies. And these are the people who helped us get ready, were in spirit, and helped us prepare to get born, and who have been walking with us through our whole lives, taking care of us, bringing us help, guidance, assistance. And so they want to introduce themselves to the client that I have. But the second person who comes are not the ones that are perceived as the most loving, the dearest one, are often the one who might have been the most hurtful. Because out the gate, they want to say, I get it now. I understand it now. I really screwed up. I saw with different eyes, but now I see with a higher spirit. And I want to come back, and I want to heal, and I want to fix this karma. And I don't want you to suffer another nanosecond with a memory of that darkness. Those are their intentions. That is what they want to do. And if we can remember to meditate on a regular basis and get in touch with our spirit people, we can take ourselves to the experience of connecting with them and creating a healing relationship, and allowing ourselves to have a renewed sense of forgiveness, because we learn from them that they hadn't gotten it before. They had the wool pulled over their eyes by their own personal selfishness, or whatever it is you want to call it. But something occurred in their own lives to make them take a step back in their awareness of their own spirit. And that's where all evil, all mistake comes from. The distance that we have from our spirits. Or we're never distant from our spirit, but the distance that we have in our perception of our spirits. So, I want you to realize that all of the spirit people who gather around you have goodness and grace and boundless love for you in their hearts. And if there is, and I know I'm making a generalization, and there are some people out there, indeed, there are even some mediums out there who will say, not my father, not my uncle, whatever have you. But these are people who are not truly comprehensive that spirit is an eternal state of reality, and our eternal vision is something that is quite different than the personal and the temporal. It is forever, and it is all power, and it is all love. And that's what the spirit world is. So know that all those who approach you from the spirit world, even if your memories of them are difficult, come so with an open heart and an embrace and a desire to know you better, know you differently, and share their love and help with you. So let yourself take a step toward your own spirit too. When the ego speaks to you for any reason, give yourself a chance to say thank you to it for alerting you to the fact that this is time for me to take a deep breath and feel the love and boundless light that stirs within me. God bless you, ego. I didn't know I needed that right now. All right, everybody. I really thank you for joining me today. I've had a lot of clients in this past week, and indeed some friends who have lost people and have been dealing with the challenges of understanding whether or not the personality moves into the spirit. The spirit moves into the spirit, okay? Not even the body. The body, memories of the body, if someone was sick, don't think of them as being sick anymore. Their body has been left behind and they're in their spirit power. And that I guarantee you think more about whether or not they were sick and how they felt and their pain and that type of thing. The second we move into spirit, we stop thinking about the body because we are in a whole new body, a body of heart and mind and soul and energy. So all of the stuff we wrap negative energy around in this personal physical world doesn't have to go with us, and indeed doesn't go with us into the spirit. And I wanted to let you all know that because I'm getting this question a lot lately, and it was a message to me that there were more of us out there who could have been informed and actually need to remember, as I always need to remember, pointing myself out the things that I need to remember in my lessons as well. So again, if you have any questions, please post them in the comments. And we will be gathering more insight and information and questions for future Spirit Q&A and also some future talks. Next week, we'll have an Akashic Tarot reading for you. So join us on Thursday, anytime after 12. Sometimes it gets a little late, but after 12, 12:30, just watch for it. And of course, if you miss it, you can catch it in the archives. And I want to thank you for joining me. And I wish you all the present feeling of your spirit power in each and every moment. God bless you.